gonna paint over this painting a beautiful sunset, and I'm excited. These are the colors on my palette, but we're gonna mix all of the colors together. My reference image is derived from AI. Don't judge me. Here's the thing, it raises a really interesting question. Where does the art start and stop? Is it when the AI image turns into a painting? Is it when the human paints it? And in that case, it rules out AI as being a possibility for art in and of itself. However, I love that it helps generate ideas, and it's just really good for brainstorming. I would like to know your opinion on all of that. AI is a really interesting topic, and it affects all of us. And I think instead of being afraid of it, why not utilize it? I know I'm in the minority, but it is annoying to see AI trying to not be AI. No, I'm embracing the fact that this is AI. I generated these images that feel authentic to my imagination and authentic to my worldly experience, and now I'm gonna add another layer of creativity through the painting. So we're going to simplify this whole visual landscape by breaking it down at first into two major colors, pink and blue. We're using pastel soft colors, kind of like what I have on me. Now, this painting here is a cute, whimsical painting from my imagination. I'm sure there's a few other paintings under this, and I am expanding this series of whimsical creatures. Let me know if you would like me to bring that into a tutorial or into this space online so you can see how I can paint from my imagination as well. Although this is a really bad representation of what I can do, so that's why I'm eradicating it. I used it as a stepping stone. Now it's going to be a layer underneath this painting, and I love layers. I feel like I'm a layered person. Enough babbling. I'm talking a lot. This is what I am doing. This is what I need to do. All right, my love. We're gonna take this blue, this white, and a tiny bit of yellow and pink to make a nice light shade of blue. Let's start out with a big, thick blob of white and a little blob of blue. Since this is acrylic paint, I dampened my palette with water to keep everything nice and wet. Okay, that's a really light shade of blue. We're gonna take barely any yellow, I'm talking barely any, and we're gonna mix it in. If you do too much, it'll turn to green. But this just makes the blue feel more sophisticated. Now we're gonna make a darker shade of purpley blue. All right, so we're gonna take a little bit less of that white. We're gonna snag some dark blue. You see I have light and dark blue. We're gonna snag some of that dark blue. And we're also going to take, I'm looking at my reference, a little bit of red, tiny bit. Red is very potent, so keep that in mind, it's potent. And then we're going to take a tiny bit of bright fluorescent pink. We're going to mix that all together. Now we have darker shade of bluish purple. We're gonna take that up a notch by taking a larger blob of blue, both shades of blue, a little bit of pink, a little bit of red, equal amounts of everything, and just mix that up. These are good colors to start off with for the sky. I feel like I need one tone a little bit in between these two, so I'm taking a little bit of the lighter blue, half and half, with the white, actually a little bit more white. And then just a tiny bit of pink and a tiny bit of yellow. Barely any. Alright, so these are some good tones to start out with. Alright. And we're going to cover, it's interesting because I'm trying to decide what I want my base color of this painting to actually be, because usually I just do like a wash of some sort. But right now we're going to do something a little different. We're gonna do a wash, but it's gonna be a multicolor wash rather than painting the entire canvas one color. We're gonna think of it as that first layer, but it's gonna be multi-colors, because the undercolors show through, and I have a vision for this. All right, now we're going to mix a few shades. We're gonna mix one shade of coral pink to start out with. So it's a lighter coral pink. So we're gonna take a blob of fluorescent pink. I love hiding fluorescence in my painting. I'll show you what it looks like in the black light or blue light when it's done. But essentially, if you mix it in with the colors, it's hidden, where you're not like, oh, that's fluorescent, but it's a little hidden secret in the painting. So a little bit of fluorescent yellow. Let's mix that up and just see what we get. Nice. That's a cool color. I like it, but we're gonna kill it a little bit with white and a tiny bit of blue to make it orangier and more pastel-y looking, less fluorescent. And then you see how everything kind of relates. It's pastel. Now we're going to make a darker shade of that with red and pink, a little bit of yellow. Mix that up. I feel like it needs a little bit of, tiny bit of blue to kill the color. You see how that kind of made it feel more sophisticated, less fluorescent. That's more what we're going for. Okay. One of these days, I'll explain to you more in depth about color theory and the color wheel. I think I need a color wheel tool, like a printout of their color wheel, to explain it as I go, so that it's not like this boring lesson. All right. All right, so what we're gonna do first is we're gonna take, oh wow, this paintbrush needs to be cleaned, it's kind of stiff. I'll put that in the water. Let's take a semi-large brush. It's too small, I think. This one might be a little bit too big. I think this is the right size, but dang, it's like, I've always struggled with like taking care of my brushes. Let's see if that softens up Alright, so this one's nice and soft. It's medium size. I'm gonna first take the lightest shade of white that I have. Or the lightest shade of blue that I have, and I'm going to cover the top third of my canvas with light blue. It almost looks like white, but it's not. Now I'm going to take that darker shade of blue and just mix it in. Well, it's more of my medium shade. We're doing a side to side motion. I love that no matter what, you can always paint over a painting. And if you don't like the texture underneath, you can sand it down. But I don't care about texture. I love texture, actually, so I don't want to say I don't care about it. It doesn't bother me to have excess texture. It's okay if this side is a little bit less finished because we're going to add purple onto the upper right hand side. Let's just do that now. The purpley shade that we mixed, let's add that to the corner and just blend it in by doing a side to side brush stroke motion while the paint is wet. And we will add layers, and I'll show you how to blend dry paint over, or wet paint over dry as well. So, alright, up here at the very top of this purple moment, I'm adding a little bit of a light blue, so it's almost like it's fading in and out like this. We're gonna add more purple up in here anyways later, but right now it's just a wash. It's the first layer, and it's not even a true wash because we're not, I don't know, it's somewhere between the first layer and a wash. Rinsing my brush. Now we're gonna take the light orange that we created, and we're going to visualize about halfway through. In here, I'm actually just going to create a line. If it's not perfect, that's okay. This is going to represent the horizon. And I'm going to bring this up. Actually, I might want to make it lower. We'll be able to correct it later. Oh wow, I'm seeing that this is showing through quite a bit. I forget that it's that oranges and yellows typically tend to be a little bit clear, more so than some of the other colors. So what we're going to do is in here, we're not going to focus on the horizon. What we're going to do is just take some white paint and paint over the painting underneath. And if you don't have a painting underneath, then that's perfect. Just take some orange. Do you see how I'm mixing the white in with the orange? The white is giving the orange a little bit more body. And it's actually kind of pretty close to the color I need anyway, so it works out. So I'm blending it in to the purple, and I'm going to take a little bit more orange over here, blend right to left. You have to be careful to not create weird shades of green with the blending of the orange and the blue, because orange is close to yellow and blue and green, or blue and yellow together make green. So you just have to be careful, be aware of it. How's your painting coming? I hope it's coming along. Don't be hard on yourself. That's my best advice. Okay. So this is kind of the top of the horizon. Now we're gonna take a little bit of purple, and we're going to, essentially these are the distant trees, but we're feeling out where they should go. There's going to be a reflection in the water. I may not have mentioned, but it's the sunset over the water. And there's distant trees on the horizon kind of peeking in. And right now we're just indicating that a little bit. Now on the sides, let me paint this and I'll explain it. This up and down motion is indicating that there's trees back there, but I haven't painted them in yet. It's almost like leaving a note to self. While you're painting, you just leave little notes to yourself so you can go back in and fix it a little bit later. Does that make sense? Okay. I hope it makes sense. Okay. In here is basically, down below this line is the reflection of the sky in the water. So let's just indicate that. Let's take the dark purple and plot that in at the base of the painting. And we're going to bring it up. Oh yeah, I wanted to explain. So this is the horizon. That's a little water. This is the horizon somewhere, and then there's going to be like trees in here. Make the trees thicker towards the outer part of the canvas, and then it's going to come in thin, and then there's going to be a little reflection. And then down here, all down here is going to be purple, and it's almost like creating a smile of dark purple. All of this is going to be purple, and then it's going to fade to dark pink, then orange, then a little bit of yellow right there in the center. Okay, that's going to be where the sun is. There's going to be purple clouds in here and light blue clouds, and then pink in here. So that's the overall direction that we're going, so that you have an understanding of what we're doing. So yeah. Okay. Sometimes it's basically whatever it is that you're looking at, you have to break it down into first large shapes, then small shapes, then go back and forth between the two. So let's take some of the lighter pale orangey color and put it in here. I think I actually need to mix more paint. Okay. We're going to mix more of this by taking fluorescent yellow, white, a little bit of fluorescent orange. Let's mix it up, see what happens. This is good. This is good enough. Side to side. I'm off-centering the reflection a little bit. Feels more real somehow. Let's blend that in with the purple by taking more purple, and where they meet, just merging the colors together. Now I'm taking a little bit of the orange and going back and forth as well, and the pink, and I need to mix more pink. See how that starts to blend it. It's like all of my colors are running out at the same time. White is always the first color to go out of the pure color blobs, because I have my mixed color blobs and my pure color blobs. Okay, let's take a little bit of white, red, some fluorescent orange, some canary yellow, a little fluorescent yellow. Let's mix that up and just see what happens. It's a little bit too orange. Let's take a little bit of blue. And that's better. Now let's take a little bit of red. That's closer to what I'm going for. That's good. Actually, I feel like I need more red and pink, to be honest. There. My stomach is growling. I need a little tiny snack. 1 second. I have almonds. They're smoke flavored. Someone told me, or maybe I saw a reel saying that almonds are bad for you. Is that true? Let me know in the comments. And wash it down with iced coffee. It matches. All right. Let's reinforce. Oh, you can see it's way orangier than I wanted it to be. Okay, we're gonna mix a little bit more. Essentially, I'm gonna cut this in half. It's the coral pink, and I'm gonna add a little bit of blue. That's too much blue. Just a little bit of blue. And a little bit of red. I don't know if I can recover this color. I think the blue is really what did the trick. A little more blue. Oh Lord, that's really dark. I might use that color later, so let's set it aside. Cut that in half. Add more red. If you're losing control of your color, just slice your color in half. Move the other part. Use some of that color into your next concoction of colors. So I hope that makes sense. This is more of the rosy tone we were trying to get at. Yeah, that's what I was going for. And we'll still use some of that orangey tone as well. That's why what I'm going to do is take a little bit of water, flick my color palette. My stomach is growling. Flick my color palette with water just to preserve the wetness. All right. Reinforcing this big moment of like corally rose color. It's all in here. And those are some harsh lines that are separating the colors, which go against the watery effect. So I'm going to take where it meets the yellow. I'm going to take that and just kind of blend it in. And the colors aren't matching perfectly. That's okay. And just going back and forth to kind of just rough up those edges of so it feels like it's a bit more blended. It doesn't have to be perfect right now, just enough for you to kind of see what you're doing, to understand visually what you're trying to do. Back and forth, left and right. That's good. Now take your brush. We're going to make the reflection of the tree underneath the tree into the water. And it's not just one tree, it's a bunch of distant trees, which more so look like a sliver, a imperfect slither that gets more narrow as it goes into the center. And we're leaving a space in between the two sides of the reflection, because that's going to be a little indication of water. Okay, so here's the top part of your reflection, and then there's going to be the bottom part, leaving a little bit of space in between, giving it that number, just like that. Okay, easy enough. I'm so excited about how quiet it is today. It's perfect. It's a perfect ASMR day, don't you think? Okay. We're going to take some of the orangier color and we're going to encase the reflection of the tree with a little bit of orange around it. And then blending that orange in with the lighter orange as well that we mixed. Uh-oh. paint over that. Sometimes the painting gets a little out of control. That's okay. I'm just making sure we keep that center area nice and bright. Okay. Let's do the same thing on this side with the trees. I have to kind of, I'm leaving it a little bit ambiguous on the exact placement of the horizon right now because it's subject to change, basically. I'm noticing that basically my reference is on a square. This is a rectangle. And so I'm having to adjust it and decide, do I want more sky or more water? And it looks like I'm going to have more sky at the end of the day, which is fine. Let me just edit my reference to reflect the shape that I have. The shape of canvas I have. So it'll be easier. Okay. That's better. All right. Let's take some dark purple and okay, I need to stay a little bit more focused than what I am right now. Let's rinse this off. I have old towels everywhere and a few paper towels that I'm using to wipe and wash my brushes as I go. And I use old jars and cups for water. Okay. We're going to take a little bit of that dark purple and reiterate back here the reflection. The beauty in this painting is the simplicity, and it will really show off the painter's ability to work with paint and allow the colors in paint to speak and it not be so much about imagery. And my landscape paintings actually sell really quickly, or they have in the past. Some of them sit around for a while, but I think there's something natural, obviously, but humans love to look at beautiful things and we love to look at nature. So surrounding yourself with beautiful art, nature paintings is a good way to go. I'm adjusting a little bit where I visualize these trees to go. And here, this is bothering me. Once again, I need to mix more paint. I'm using so much more paint than I thought I would. It's okay though. Let this be a lesson to, if you need to mix more paint, to just don't hold back. Go ahead and take the break and mix paint, because I know it pulls you out of your creative zone sometimes, but it's worth it. Because if you don't have the right colors, it's like not having the right tools. And we want the right tools to build our house / paint our painting. So, alright, we're mixing some pale orange, taking both of the yellows, taking a lot of white, and a little bit of red. We might need a little, I'm just going to take a little bit more orange and just mix the orange in, because it just feels a little too yellowy right now. This is better. That's the vibe. I'm still keeping my larger brush. I mean, it's not huge, but it's relatively large, just so that we can move through the painting without focusing too much on the details at this stage. Okay. Expanding the orange into the pink. I'm actually going to take a slightly lighter shade of the orange by mixing it in with white and just moving it through a little bit to create the illusion of water, because water shifts from color to color. Let's take a little bit of water on my brush and use it to blend in with the pink. Oh yeah, that's the vibe. Adding a little bit of water can make it thin enough to blend. Now in here, we're going to take some of that orange that we mixed earlier and work it in as an in-between color between the yellow or between the orange and that corally rosy pink. Now taking the lighter orange and working it into the darker orange to blend it the other direction. Moving it into the outer side of the painting. Grabbing a little bit of the darker orangey shade. Integrating it into this area. Making sure it acts as a medium value between the lighter and the darker colors. Value is the lightness or darkness of something. Taking the water, blending, blending, blending. Once we work on the trees a little bit more, it'll make more sense in there. Now let's take the purple, which we are out of. Once again, out of another color. Using a lot of paint today. Dark blue, light blue, red, a little less red, and a little less pink. Mix. It's a little too blue, so we're going to add more pink. That's good. I'm so happy with how this is coming along. Okay, so taking the purple and deepening everything in here, making it darker, moving the purple over the red. There's some green showing through from my previous painting. We're just gonna get rid of it. Going back to the darker shade of orangey red, and we're mixing it in side to side with the purple. Let's take more of that reddish color and we're going to move it down to the base of the painting. All right, I need to make a even darker shade of purple. taking more red, putting it on my palette. Let's mix it over here. And then taking a lot of blue, and we're just mixing straight dark red and straight dark blue together. And that's going to be our really dark shade of purple. This down. I'm left-handed, so I keep most of my art stuff within reach of my left side. And if you're right-handed, do the opposite. It'll make your life easier. So we're going to take that dark purple and we're mixing it in on the lower right corner into the other shades. This is more of a plum, and we're allowing some of that light purple to show through over here. Now in here where the purple is intersecting with the red, we're going to take the red and, well, the coral and push it back into the purple. There we go. Now it feels a little more integrated. I really like this color. We're going to do it again in here to make it feel a little bit stronger. It might be a little too strong. So we take the purple and integrate the purple back in to the red. Let's take the... I have an idea. So this is going to be my straight edge. So I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to paint. You can use anything really that's straight. I'm going to take my light orange and paint through. And I'm realizing that it was crooked anyways, which is why I'm doing this. You can use a canvas, you can use cardboard, just anything. Alright, so now I know my horizon is basically where it needs to be. Okay, good. I'm moving away from the bottom portion of my painting, and I'm going to focus more on the center. You hanging in there? Okay. Now at this point in the painting, I at least can see what's happening, which is nice. I can kind of get an idea of where everything is, and then that allows me to adjust it, basically. So yeah, let's go for it. Moving my attention to the top part of the canvas. I'm switching out my waters because this one is all murky. There we go. Okay. I have brush cleaner I'm gonna have to use on some of my brushes. I have paint all over my hands. Well, I'm actually a much cleaner painter because I took oil painting classes ever since I was younger, and my teacher was a stickler about making sure everything was tidy, and because you can't really sustain a hobby when it just makes a mess every single time. I mean, yes, it's a little messy, but you have to learn to control the mess. So, yeah, just take your time. You know, I want to add a little bit more brightness to the blue. At the top of my painting, on the blue side, I'm gonna work in a little bit of a darker blue. Not too much. Already this is making it look better. Left to right. Once again, mixing. Sometimes it just feels like it's a never-ending process. Taking blue, both of the blues, mixing them together. This is a little dark, so I'm going to push it to the side, take a little bit of that blue and mix it with the white. So we have a few different shades. The blue I'm looking for is kind of in between both of these blues, so I'll just leave them here. Take more of this blue than the lighter blue, mix it with some white. Alright, that's a bit closer to what I'm looking for, although it's not that much paint. Okay. That's better. All right, moving this darker blue into the lighter blue. Back and forth, side to side. All right, so in here, I just want to make it feel a little bit smoother as a good foundation for the rest of the painting. Making sure that blue seamlessly blends into the orange. There we go. That's pretty. Now, let's take a little bit of the purple. Actually, let's just leave that there for a second. Okay. I'm going to take that light orange and actually I need it to be even lighter than that. Mix it with white a little bit. There we go. And just kind of work it into the blue a little. make sure it's nice and soft. We don't want it to turn green, which is why I wanted the paint to dry a little bit before I went into too much. We're going to take this reddish color and barely work it in here. Now taking the orange, working that into the red to tone it in and to blend it in with the orange that we already have. Going back and forth between red and the orange so that the red is coming through. Alright, let's do a little man, I'm trying to think of how I want to do this. It's like the clouds are kind of peeking through a little bit. I feel like I need this brush now. What you're going to do is you're going to take the orange and the pink and just kind of stipple it through a little. We're not going to spend too much time doing this because I still have to intensify the purple on this edge of the painting, so but I at least want to indicate what I'm trying to do. I want to put it in the painting and then I'll adjust it. So these are just, it's actually the space behind the clouds. It's the sky, and in painting that space, the clouds look like they're kind of breaking apart in here, which is good. I mixed the orange and the coral together to get that light pinky shade, which I'm just working in to the side of the painting. If it gets too heavy, just take more orange and work it in. There we go. Okay. That's pretty and subtle. So now I need to add more purple on this side. So what I'm gonna do is continue working with this smaller brush. Oh, okay, this jar looks like it's about to fall off. There we go. Yes, I'm going to use this smaller brush here and work some purple into this. It's going to be light purpley clouds, like thin purple clouds. So let's go in on this side, just adding a layer of purple. And now I'm going to take my water and make circular motions here and there on the right side, allowing, I'm basically painting clouds, allowing the blue to show through. This is the technique I'm using. I don't know if it's a proper technique, but it's basically a wash over the paint. I don't really want any of those harsh lines. I can go back in with more blue and more purple, but this is the thinner layer of cloud covering some of the sky. All right. Add some purple in here and kind of work it in between the orange. This is where the sky is breaking up into these little clouds. It to be a little darker in here, just like a little moment of dark cloud. Feather out some of those edges. Bring it up into the blue. Feathering out some of those edges by just working it into the canvas. There we go. It's starting to kind of look like a sky, isn't it? Okay. Bringing the purple in here. See how it's basically a thin layer of paint and adding it on the canvas first. There's harsh lines. But then you can just take your dry brush and buff them out, basically. Making the purple even thinner, dissipating. That's how clouds are. They're very sporadic. Some places they're thick, some places they're thin, depending on the cloud pattern. These are thin clouds. Painting thin over thick can be tricky, but I recommend it, especially for this kind of effect. Okay. Now, the next step is to take the blue it looks much lighter than I thought it would. Hang on. Let's get a closer. Oh, Lord. It's okay. Let's just blend that into what I have already, because the top of the canvas, I want it actually to be a little darker than I thought than it is currently. So just taking about a little bit of a dark blue at the very, very top, working it in. Taking a little bit of water to blend that into the color we already have, because it's dry underneath. So the water creates that gradual transition. Okay, that looks good. So in here, I'm just gonna go in a few places with my light blue and work in the sky that's showing through behind the cloud, the purple a little bit, just in a few places to break it up a little. And then maybe in here. And just a little bit of light coming through in here as well. Let's take a little bit of purple and work it back and forth between the blue and the purple. Basically creating holes in the cloud where the light from the sky is coming through, where it just feels like it's a little wisp in the air. It's hardly even a cloud, it's a wisp. A little bit more purple, make it feel darker on the outside of the canvas to where the cloud is thicker in here. That looks good. What do you think so far? Do you like it? Good. Now, let's take a little bit of the purple and we're going to do a thicker cloud in here that's thin but thick. It's narrow, but it's more dense. And it dissipates a little bit in here. I'm taking my finger and kind of blending it so that, I mean, the finger painting method actually works quite well, so don't knock it till you try it. Then adding a little bit of a narrow, wispy cloud moment underneath that. adding some texture on this side where the clouds feel a little bit more bubbly, thicker. That's why it's darker in here. And here I want it to be a bit darker as well, where it kind of dissipates in here. There. That feels cloud-like. Let's make it thicker in here. Using rounded brush strokes. Up here, a little darker, but still thin. Okay, that's pretty. Just making sure it's giving the cloud effect that I'm wanting, enough to at least move on a little bit from this portion of the painting. Want it to be a little less blue, a little more purple in here. I still want some of that blue to show through, of course, which rhymes. I love how the texture is just adding a whole other dimension to this painting. A little bit of darkness in here. Okay. That looks good. For now. Now, this is at least a stopping point in there. Let's take that dark purple, the one that was red and blue straight from the tube, and use it on the trees in the distance. I'm basically going to make it a little bit bumpy on top because trees are bumpy, and I might even need a smaller brush for this, but yeah, I feel like I do. Alright. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that this is also like a stiff freaking brush. Alright. This is a good brush. It's really, really small on the tip. It's going to allow me to get smaller details. I added a little bit of water to my purple to make it easier. For the paint to spread. Alright, so that represents the distant trees. I'm going to add some of the lighter purple in the center so it feels a bit hazier. So I'm kind of, it's somewhere between the light and the dark purple. So I'm just kind of going in. When something is further away from the viewer, it looks like less contrast. So I just feel like adding a little bit of light purple flattens it out just enough for it to feel, oops, like it's in the distance. And it's not super light purple, it's the color we used for the cloud up here. It's coming along. I like it. It's beautiful and simple but complex. The more you look, the more you see. Okay, so now we're gonna do the reflection on the bottom of the below, like, you know, as above, so below. I'm using just a slightly lighter shade of purple. And it doesn't have to be an exact replica of the top portion. It's a reflection, so it can be a reflection of the top part. Only it dissipates away, like I don't go all the way to the middle. This is where the sun's gonna be. Make it just a little bit darker in here. Kind of mixing that in with the purple so it feels like it's rippling water. Kind of going back and forth between the lighter purple and the darker purple. There we go. I mean, I don't know. It's like, you kind of have to eyeball it. That's the thing about painting, is a lot of it comes down to just you and your perspective on things. Okay. That's similar to what I'm going for. It doesn't look great, but it doesn't look terrible. It's there, so we'll work with it. Doing the same thing on this side. I almost liked it before I made it darker, but we'll find that happy medium. Okay. Taking the lighter purple and just kind of working it in. I feel like that sliver needs to be even more thin, but I'm kind of carefully working around it because I'm going to go back in anyways with orange and purple and just kind of refine everything. So just trying to make sure this line is relatively straight for now. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it's just got to be enough to kind of see what's going on. Okay. The less clear I make it look back there, the more realistic it'll look, because whenever something is far away, you're not really able to see everything. So sometimes the lack of clarity is a good thing. Just like in life. Sometimes not being clear on things in life is good. All right. Take some of this orange, open it up in here. Okay. I want there to be less red on this side and more purple, so I'm going to take my purple and work it in. Taking the orange, blending it in with the purple and the pink, and just bringing it down. Taking a little bit of water to hopefully blend some of that away. Oh, a little bit too bright. Alright, so this is kind of my deep reddish purple, and we're going to put it down here below the red and in between the violet purple. Or below the coral color. Just to make it darker in here. And then blending that in over here with the dark purple we already have established. Taking water to buff away that line. Going side to side. And a little bit of diagonal to kind of combine some of it. Bringing that that dark purple all the way down to the base of the canvas. Oh yeah, that's pretty. I like it so far. It's looking very sunset-y. We're getting there. We're definitely getting there. Taking the light purple, moving it up into the orange, and kind of connecting it on the side. It's like a wash. I'm just using light purple and water. There we go. Okay, taking some orange, moving it in here. Alright, I need to basically shape it up in this area. Taking some light orange and dark orange and making it a little bit more clear, the overall shapes that they take. Feels maybe a little too white. Okay, just mixing the right shade. And I'm just going to kind of cut the sky into the trees with this up and down motion, which I think make the trees actually look more real because it's a little less clear, the outline of the trees, because in real life it's always a little hazy in the distance. Okay. I'm blending that in. Wow. What a difference that makes. It's quite exciting. And now I'm gonna bring that up a little higher on the left side. That's a nice transition. Integrating it into the sky. That looks good. Okay, maybe a little bit brighter in here. You gotta be careful to not overdo it. Sometimes when you find something you like as a painter, you just want to do it everywhere. When really you just gotta take a deep breath, okay? And only do it in some places. Don't do it everywhere. Alright, brightening it up in here as well. Lots of left to right motions. And here we want it to be hazy, so we'll figure that out in a minute. It might not be a perfect blend, but you can get the idea of it blending by just doing hatch marks of left and right brush strokes, allowing some of that color underneath to show through in between. So that's one of my little tracks of the trade. Take a little bit of the orange, medium orange and dark orange, and I'm just mixing them together on my palette with my brush, and I'm just going to add it in here and there. That's pretty. Let's do the same thing here. And even up here, just making it feel a little bit more vibrant of an orange. Doing the up and down thing. To make it feel like it's the sky peeking through distant trees. And then taking the orange again and the lighter orange and cutting it through the dark orange. Let's blend this line a little bit. Taking the blue, and it's a lighter shade of blue, and working it in to the darker shade of blue. That feels more seamless, doesn't it? Feels more realistic. Okay. There we go. Let's add a few horizontal kind of moments, stippling or scumbling the orange into the blue. So it feels more like clouds. We did this earlier, we're gonna do it again. Oh my Lord. Shoot. I got paint on this dress. Oh my God. Wow. That's insane. I cannot believe that. Holy crap. I got paint on this dress. Look at that. How did I know that was gonna happen? That's crazy. Okay. What do I do now? I think what I have to do is take it off. Basically, I have to take it off and soak it in cold water. So, if you're wondering what to do if you get paint on your clothes, soak it in cold water. And I'm just gonna go ahead and change my outfit. I can't believe this happened, but you just gotta laugh. It happens. Look at that. Okay. So, I'm gonna do that. I'll be right back. Okay. This is arguably a cuter dress. Honestly, maybe I should have worn this earlier. My stomach is growling, so wow, off to a rough start today. I stepped away from this painting and I came back today and I noticed that it needs, I just kind of was able to pinpoint what it needs. Basically, we need blue all through the bottom of the canvas to reflect the blue from the sky. We need a sun, a little bit more yellow in here, and a lot more pink. Just a lot more pink all throughout. So what I did was I got my paints from yesterday, which I keep them protected in this, it's basically an airtight palette that has a lid. I saved some of the colors I mixed, and I also added new colors. So these are some of the new colors I added from Caffrey Art Materials, one of my favorite paints ever. And I'm going to mix new colors with it. Okay? I'm excited. We're gonna go for this light pink. We're gonna take it, we're gonna add just a little bit of this fluorescent yellow to give it an orangier look. It's really nice. We're gonna leave it like that. Caffrey paint is notoriously bright, so I love that. Or not bright, thick. It's thick paint. And maybe notorious was the wrong usage of words. Notorious is bad. It's famously thick. Okay? So we have that color. Now we're going to mix a little bit of the fluorescent pink with the pastel-y pink to make a color that's in between the two. Now we're going to take more of the fluorescent and mix it with the other fluorescent. So now we have the fluorescent pink with the fluorescent yellow, making a brighter orange shade. Okay? Are you following along? Okay. Now let's make a dark purple. Do we need a light purple as well? Maybe. We'll take some of this light purple and mix it with red and blue. Wow, I don't have a lot of blue on my palette. I sprinkled my palette paper with water to keep the acrylic paints wet. And even some of them are still kind of drying on me, so just keep your palette paper nice and wet. That's my best advice. Alright, now let's take some of that purple, mix it with red and blue, more red and blue than last time, to make an even darker shade of purple. So get even more red. Okay. I don't know how much good that did, but my next color is, well, I probably should add, basically reload some paints that are getting low on my palette. I am going to add just a tiny bit of black on my palette at this point, just a little bit. I'm excited to get new glasses. I have new glasses on the way from Zinni, I'm so excited. I know it's random. I'm random. Oh yeah, I also need red. If your brain goes on random bunny trails like mine, it's okay. The first thing I'm gonna do, also I cleaned my brushes. I used a brush cleaner conditioner from the art store. I highly recommend that if your brushes are getting stiff, especially if they're nice brushes. And it worked. I just let them soak overnight and I got them back and they're much cleaner and softer. Okay, so I'm going to take my light pink and I'm going to mix it with my fluorescent pink mixture. And I'm adding it with water and I'm going to just glaze over. Maybe I should do more of the fluorescent pink and less of the light. I'm going to glaze over some of the orangey tones in this area. This is actually somewhat of a oil painting technique, only they use linseed oil instead of water. So oil-based mediums have slightly different process, but you can apply the same techniques. Adding a little bit more of a fluorescent tone in this area of the painting, which is to the right of where the sun will be, and stippling in the indication of a few little clouds. Doing this with the brush can help blend it. Okay. That's really nice. I'm going to do the same thing down here. As above, so below. Have you guys seen that movie? So good. I mean, it's so underrated. Put in the comments if you've seen that movie before. The reflection of the sky into the water reminds me of that, because anything that's above the water will be reflected in the water. So it's just me. I see things and things. Not to be like, I'm quirky, but you know, I'm quirky. I'm kidding. Alright. Let's do a downward motion with the light pink. An up and downward motion with the paintbrush, creating depth in the water, especially in between the purple and the orange. This is going to act as our medium tone. Merging the two extremes of colors. I'm allowing the colors underneath to show through. That's nice. Let's add some of the light pinky peach color in here where it feels a bit like dark orange. I want it to feel a little lighter in a few areas, a little brighter. What do you think so far? Do you like it? Are you following along okay? I know it's a little simple, but not, you know? Okay, let's just see what happens if we take this pink and run it all the way through this light blue. Up and down. Kind of blends it together, doesn't it? Makes it feel kind of more reflective, huh? I like that. Taking white, mixing it with the light pink mixture to lighten it up just a little bit. And we're gonna brighten it in here. Brighten, soften, I don't know. I just want this to feel smoother and lighter. We're going back and forth between adding thicker layers of paint as well as adding thin layers of paint. So like the thin layers of paint are washes to kind of glaze over things to allow the colors from underneath to show through. And the thicker layers is to solidify certain shapes and to bring out certain parts of the painting. Okay. Let's make in here feel a little bit lighter. Let's do an up and down motion in here to just make it feel a bit more solid and expansive back there. Taking a little bit of yellow, mixing it in. Sometimes yellow can actually make something feel darker. I just want it to feel a bit lighter in here. So we just have to make sure there's plenty of white in with the yellow. And this is fluorescent yellow, so this is going to glow under the black light. The fluorescent colors that I add in this painting will glow under black light, which is just a fun little secret. I will hopefully remember to add that into the end of this painting video. A little bit of a streak to the right of this light glowy area that goes into the glow. So it feels like that the clouds are parting around the glow. You may hear some people outside of this building working on their creative projects. Many of them are wood shop workers. Kind of cool. It might be time to just add in the sun a little bit. So mixing the fluorescent white, or the fluorescent yellow with the white. I'm just gonna make a small circle. Well, actually, before I add in the sun, I feel like I just need to make in here feel a bit more like combined those colors by painting over some of it. Okay, that looks good. Let's do the same down here Only we're gonna just do like a few pockets of light reflecting from the sky with the side-to-side motion. It indicates the feeling of rippling water. In here, let's make it a little bit brighter in the center of the highlight. Wow. It's actually really starting to come along. I'm telling you, there's something really powerful about stepping away from your painting and then coming back to it. All right, back here where it's closer to the sun, we're going to make a thicker, smaller pool of light yellow. It's further away from the viewer, so it's going to be smaller. Okay. Another little pocket of light yellow over here, disconnected from that initial pocket of yellow that I painted. Only we want it to visually make sense with everything else around it. I think that's probably pretty good. In here, I'm gonna blend some of these streaks with fluorescent yellow, fluorescent white, and fluorescent pink mixed together. Painting over these colors, allowing some of it to show through. And this is going to create a little bit of that glassy effect that water tends to have. Let's carry that technique down a little bit. It might look like just white or light yellow, but it's not. It's white mixed with fluorescent pink and fluorescent yellow. Two shades of pink, actually. Fluorescent pink and the pastel pink. And a little bit of yellow, but there's a lot of white in this mixture. Sometimes, whenever the thicknesses get a little bit too combined, like thin paint over thick paint and thick paint over thin paint, it might start to kind of move and separate on your canvas in a way that isn't what you intended. Just be aware of that, and it's kind of happening a little bit right now. It's okay. Nothing I can't fix. I'm not really sure how I feel. Let's take some of this light purple and just kind of mix it in there a little bit. I might have to go back to this spot. Sometimes you get hyper fixated on certain areas of the painting, and working on it too much will just make it worse. Okay, hang on. Taking some of my darker purple that I mixed, my medium tone, And I'm gonna combine these colors with the darker purple, but I'm mixing it strongly with water so it feels like a wash, like a crystally, watery vibe. I actually think that that did the trick, at least for now. A lot of times you just have to play it by ear a little bit. I'm just gonna blend that in with my fingers. I don't want to get too carried away. Alright. That looks decent. It doesn't look bad. Okay. Let's take the fluorescent pink, mix it with water. I'm just gonna see what it looks like if I just add a little bit of a fluorescent pink wash in here to give this oranginess a little bit of a pinkiness. Okay. Alright, I'm going to take some white, mix it with my light blue, but not make it as light as the other light blue. I want it to be a bit darker. That's probably good. Can you see it? Alright. I'm going to take some of this light blue and I'm going to put it in this lower left-hand corner. Can you see okay? Alright. And I'm going to make clouds reflected from above by doing something similar to what we did here. I'm gonna have to find a way to make it feel blended, so I'm gonna take some purple and mix it in on the edges of the blue, and I might do a back and forth between purple and blue. We'll just see what happens. I'm going to take some of that light blue and actually just mix it with purple and just see what happens if I start out with something less blue. Just doing a combination between circles and lines with my larger brush in through the bottom of the painting. So it looks like there's a reflection of these little clouds in the sky. And I know it's kind of harsh lines on the edges right now of this clouds. We want to ultimately soften those, but I'm just plotting it in, the positioning, a little bit before I get too carried away. Alright, adding some purple now on the edges of the blue and just into the blue, but especially on the edges of the blue to blend it in with the purple around the blue. See how just taking the color that it's laid on top of, in this case blue is over purple, and just meshing it in with the blue, that creates a blended effect to where it now feels more connected to its surrounding color. Taking more purple where it's getting a little carried away with the blue, and going back and forth basically. And here it could be a bit more solid. I have a few different shades of purple. So up here, I'm using a little bit of a lighter shade. To connect it with the blue. And at the base of the painting, using a darker shade. Well, I mean, the lighter shade kind of works too, but in here, and really, I mean, I am going to work in some dark moments as well, so it's kind of a back and forth. Sometimes I have to wipe my brush off from the paint and do a dry brush technique where you just kind of feather the color into the color next to it with your dry brush. Taking my medium purple, just working it in. And here using more than just side to side brush strokes now. Because I really want it to look like the water is coming towards us, so using diagonal and up and down brush strokes in between the side to side brush strokes will make it feel like that more visually, especially towards the base of the canvas, because that's where the viewer is closest to the base of the canvas. If they were standing here and if this was like a real scene in front of them. So we're using bigger brush strokes here at the base of the canvas, larger shapes. A little bit more contrast in color as well. Taking a little bit more blue, light blue, meshing that in with the purple. So it's kind of a duet between blue and purple, where it's like the blue is reflection of the sky and the purple is the depth of the water. It's looking so cute. I like it. All right. Let's use my smaller brush. Actually, I just want to stay focused before I move on. Let's wrap up the blue-purple conversation here at the bottom of the canvas. We don't want any strong lines. Like even in here that feels a little, I don't know, strong. I don't know, we'll figure that out. Oh yes, a little bit of blue, a little bit more blue in here, a little bit more in here, a little bit more in here, and in through here. That's pretty. I used a wash, so I'm just softening the edges with the water in here. Seems to be working okay. In there I might need to add a little bit of purple around the blue. And then here at the very base of the canvas in the center, it's almost like this blue-purple mixture. Oh, Lord. Okay. Okay. This really creates the illusion that the water is coming closer to me as the viewer, which is nice. Taking my medium purple and then blending that medium purple into the dark purple. A little bit more blue in here, I think. Just kind of bringing that in, then taking dark purple, encasing the blue with the dark purple. Adding a little bit more blue now that the edges are softened into the center of that little moment, and then over here as well. Keeping the edges of the little pockets of blue nice and soft. Okay. Taking a little bit of pink or yellow and white and just adding a little highlight in here. Right there. Okay. Let's take the smaller brush. Oh, okay. Ooh. Let's take the smaller brush. And we're going to work on a few details in the painting. So I'm excited. All right. Hang on, I'm noticing in here. Let's break up some of this blue with the purple. And just kind of soften the brightness of that by adding purple over it. Just a little bit in a few places. If the blue looks a little bit bright, just take some more purple and just add it over the blue in a few places. Not everywhere, just a few. Okay. I think that's good. Now, I want to add in my sun, finally. We're doing a small, distant, relatively lifelike sun. I'm mostly taking white with a little bit of yellow and putting it right in the center of this little scenery moment. It's a small little sun, and it's way more lifelike. I mean, I feel like when you take pictures of the sun, it's so tiny. And making a few really bright white clouds around the sun too. Side to side. There. I mean, we don't want it to be too bright. Let's add more of the yellow around the sun just to contrast it a little bit from the background. Let's add some of this pinky peach around the sun as well. I just feel like it needs to feel a little different, a little bit softer, a little bit lighter in this area. Mixing my pinky peach with more white to lighten it. I need to lighten it even more than that. Okay, let's see if that does the trick. Let's try to spread this out in this area. Blending it with yellow in a few places. Alright, that's more so what I'm looking for. I know that's really not the color, but we're going to mix that with white. I made a really pale pink, put it back here. We'll see if I want to keep it, but I think it's what it needs to just make it feel lighter around the sun. And then it blends into the brighter colors, and that just makes it feel really soft and light in there. Doing a few little streaks of it. Okay. Still feeling a little dark in there, so just lightening it up, and then let's just take a little bit of yellow. I'll take a bigger brush, dip it in water, and just move that yellow into this pale pinkish color. Okay. I'm gonna do a thicker pale pink moment in here. Okay. We want it to feel open and expansive in there. We're taking our time with this one. Maybe a little bit of pale pink in here to kind of blend some of that together. As above, so below. We don't have to copy every single thing, but Like, whatever you put out above the water, you don't necessarily have to do it below the water, but it's got to stay congruent for sure. And it's got to make sense visually. So making the water lighter in here is a good idea, and just kind of simplifying some of those brush strokes with a larger square brush. Yes, that does a lot for the painting. I want to mix another color. Basically, I want to mix red and pink. I'm trying to find a spot I can actually do that. Just mix it inside of this pink moment. Red is always so bright, so you don't really need a lot. Alright, that's the color I'm going for. Just regular red and fluorescent pink. And all right. I'm going to take, first of all, a water, okay, mix it with my light blue, and I'm going to do a wash over this. I just need all this to feel more connected and lighter, but we got to be careful to not mix the blue with the yellow or it'll make green. So I'm just kind of connecting this in here with the wash. Okay. Or it's a glaze, I don't know what you want to call it. Alright, that looks better. It feels like these two colors are merged together a little bit more seamlessly. Now, I'm taking that pinkish color that we mixed. Oops, it's kind of loud. Mixing it with water and doing that same thing in here. Doing kind of diagonal brush marks. And this is just going to really make parts of this pink area really illuminate and pop. That looks good. Ooh. Making it a bit thicker in here where it's closer to the viewer, which we talked about. Maybe adding a little bit of it down in here. I like that. It's really doing it for me. Alright, now we're going to take the light blue. Only this is more of a darker light blue mixture, and we're just going to do something similar in here with all of this light blue area. Just take the water, kind of blend it in with some of these other colors. I might have gotten too much water. It's okay. Okay. Take some of the pink, kind of work it in to the blue, the pink wash, just to kind of make them feel connected. Even adding a little bit of the pink into the dark purple. Adding a little bit of blue back into the base of the painting. Softening those edges a little bit. Taking the dark purple, reinforcing this line in here. And it kind of breaks in here, which I'm going to also reiterate with the light orange pink color. But right now we're just going to take that and then add like little bubbly moments in the reflection, which is the tree, just kind of giving it this number. Let's make in here a little darker. Adding variety to the shapes of the trees, which is really just little up and down notches that I'm making with my paintbrush. Nothing too sophisticated when you think about it. It's just an accumulation of small decisions. Okay. All right, let's see. That looks pretty good. Let's do the same on this side. Can't believe how quiet it is today. I mean, it's a bit cloudier outside. I feel like on cloudy days people opt out of coming to the studio sometimes, but here we are. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. I'm getting kind of cold because I had to turn off the heat. I'm just going to add a couple final touches after this and call it good. at a certain point, the painting is just what it is, and there's not much you can do about it. I mean, you can add a few things here and there, but it might just, at the end of the day, it's just a landscape, you know. It has little nuances and brush marks and things that might work and things that might not work and all of it. Blend that in just a little. Okay. Now, what was I gonna do? Oh yes. A little bright spot over here. Pretty. This is using the light pale pinkish color. We're going to do the same thing over here, just kind of connect some of this with this pale pink. Okay. And here, soften this a little bit. I'm going to take some white, mix it with a tiny bit of yellow, make a few highlights in the center of the pond or lake or ocean, whatever it is, body of water, to be safe. That's the other thing I like about paintings, whereas like photography is great, but with photography it's like it is exactly what it is, whereas with painting it could be anything. You don't really know what it is. It's up to the viewer. It's a painting, so it's not like, oh, that's a for sure picture of someone, you know, or some place. Even if the reference is of a for sure place, the painting is still just a painting. It's not that exact place. So let's make this just a little bit bigger and kind of cut into the horizon a little bit. Is it raining now? Kind of sounds like it. I made it pretty much white. Now taking some of the light fluorescent yellow and adding it around the sun a little bit. It's okay if it's not a perfect circle. There we go, just adding a few little highlights and taking the purple again and just reiterating this horizon line, especially around the sun. I wanted to just take some of this pale pink and kind of cover up some of the edges of the blue or the trees, just to kind of make them feel connected back there rather than just slapped on top of everything. There we go. That looks way more ambiguous. I'm kind of looking for that happy medium of brush marks right now. Okay. I think that's probably good. Let's take this really dark purple and just layer it here in the lower right corner. And I'm trying to think if there's anything that's just screaming at me. Maybe take some purple and kind of move it in here a little bit. Light, or just some white really, and just kind of adding a little bit in here just to brighten it a hair. And then I feel like more white around the sun. And a little like highlight. It's like these little pools and pockets of color that kind of merge together in places, and then all together separate in places as well. Okay, that's pretty. This yellowness back here is important, I think. All right, I'm taking the yellow, mixing it with white. We're gonna do a little line. Wow. Nerve-wracking. Feels a little thick, but it's okay. Width-wise, not paint-wise. Not like the heaviness of the paint, but like width-wise. Okay. That one's way too thick. I almost want to make this one thicker too, and then I'll cut back into it with the purple. All right. I want this to go all the way to the edge. All right. Now take the dark purple and cut back into the yellow, making it thinner. There we go. That's better. I'm going to do a double line in here. There we go. And on this side as well. Oh yeah, that's pretty. That adds a lot, doesn't it? Alright, now taking more of the dark purple, reiterating the reflection. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight, it just has to be convincing, where you see it and it's not like weirdly distracting. Artists can be perfectionists when really the art is in the imperfection sometimes, so just relax. I know it's hard, but you are not your painting, which sounds obvious, but if you can just separate yourself from your painting mentally, it's okay if your painting sucks. You don't suck. And yeah, there are paintings that suck out there. Not everything is good. But there's a place in this world for bad art and ugly art. There's art for everybody, and it's very, very, very subjective. So just, I've sold paintings that I didn't like myself, and that showed me that it's worth making. In the reflection, I'm actually kind of adding a little bit of a lighter purple. Just feels more reflection-y that way. I don't know why. That looks really good. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just add that light purple. Taking a little bit of creative liberty. Going back in with the line. The painting's pretty much dry, so it's okay if I get really, really close up to it and put my hand on it and whatnot. I just feel like this needs to be brighter. I might just need to take a picture of it and see if anything stands out to me negatively. Because when you've been looking at it for a long time, sometimes you can't really see it. I feel like this line needs to be like not totally straight, actually. Feels more ripply like that. Taking a little bit of my light purple wash. I'm just kind of connecting that yellow with the blue with some of this lighter purple, just to kind of make it softer transition. try to say? Okay. I mean, you don't have to eyeball it, but I like to eyeball it most of the time. As long as it's not like off kilter, it's okay if it's a little bit jagged. You know? There, just taking a little wash. That might have messed that up a little bit, but I'm kind of here for it. There we go. Just softening it in here a little. Okay. All right. I like it. All right, let's just make in here feel maybe a little bit more gradual. I don't know why that just feels like it's too much. Adding more purple. And in here, I don't know, something about the texture is kind of maybe throwing it off just a hair. Okay. Good paintings take time. You know, it takes time to make something really worthwhile and meaningful. I'm gonna just add brightness above and below the sun, because we worked on the purple and it kind of took away some of the brightness of the sun. So there we go. And then move that in to the horizon a little bit more. So we're just taking some white and some yellow and just surrounding it. There we go. That feels better. Shaping my sun a little bit. Taking some white. Mixing it in with the yellow and just gonna do a few strong highlights in the water. There we go. Just want them to blend a little bit more, even though they are strong. Okay. In there, I just want it to be a little bit more combined color, less streaky. I'm taking the light pink and just combining it some. And then I want that to blend, so I'll take some of the pink, just kind of work it into the yellow, and there you go. That looks good. In here, maybe just refine that a little bit with taking the yellow and kind of painting around the purple reflection. In here, refining it by taking purple and going back and forth. Okay. Wow, that looks good. I'm actually happy with this. Let me take a picture. Okay, pretty. Wow. The one thing I don't like is this. I'm just going to try to transition that a little bit more. Taking my blue paint, mixing it with water. I almost did it. A little bit more of the light blue. And just kind of softening it in here. That looks better, way better. Letting it kind of cut diagonally into the pink as though it's like clouds, and then merging it up using a thicker layer of paint just to give it that solid feeling of spaciousness. And I'm going to work it back up into the blue, the darker blue at the top of the canvas. And obviously that's a harsh line, so we're going to take the darker blue and merge it into the lighter blue. All right. All right, that looks nice. Every part of the painting is thoroughly addressed. I do want to make the left side of the sky just a little bit more pink. Let's take a clean brush, dip it into the pink, the fluorescent pink, mix that with water, and just work the pink in a little bit on this side. I feel like that made in here maybe a little too dark, so we'll try to blend that in with a lighter shade of blue. We want the painting to feel atmospheric. I do love the painting. Let's take one more picture. See if there's anything that stands out. I think it looks really pretty. Honestly, I'm gonna say that it's tentatively done. It's done for now. It took me 2 days to complete. It's relatively simple subject matter. Lots of blending, lots of techniques involved in the color mixing and in the shading of water and reflection and clouds and all of that. So thank you so much for watching this video, for being here, and for all of your support. I hope you learned a thing or two about painting and about color mixing and even about how to merge fluorescent paints and with other colors. So I'll see you later,